So let's look at our cells again here, and let's see if we can remember the 4 structures that all cells have in common, okay? So that was what was in the middle of our Venn diagram. So all cells are going to have DNA. They're going to have a cell membrane. That is also called a plasma membrane. So if you see plasma membrane, that means the same thing. They all have cytoplasm, which is the jelly liquidy stuff that everything floats around in the cell. And can you remember the last one? So those tiny little dots, they all have ribosomes. So what we need to try to do here is pick out each of these structures in each of these cells, okay? So the DNA is going to be this little swirly guy right here. Right there. So you can label this however you want to. If you want to draw arrows, if you want to draw lines, if you want to come in here and write your words, you can. The cell membrane for this cell is going to be inside here. It may be difficult to see on your screen. Bacteria, this is a prokaryotic cell over here. We need to label that as well. So prokaryotic is bacteria, and bacteria can have a cell membrane. Well, they do have a cell membrane. Then they can also have a cell wall and even another layer called a capsule on the outside of that. And then both of these are eukaryotic. And then I wonder if you can tell me the difference between these two cells. You probably know that this is a plant cell and this is an animal cell, right? And let's see if you can remember the things that plant cells have that animal cells don't. What makes this plant cell different from the animal cell? You probably remember that plant cells have this outer layer, which is a cell wall. It makes them special, a little different from plant cells. That cell wall is made of something called, a little different from animal cells, excuse me, called cellulose. They also have these big little things called chloroplasts that do photosynthesis, right? And there's also another structure that's a little bit different. Lots of times kids will say it looks like a steak. This structure right here, it's called it's a vacuole. Animal cells have vacuoles too. That's these guys over here. But vacuoles in plant cells are large and they take up a lot of space in the cell. So they're called a large central vacuole versus a small vacuole in an animal cell. And we'll focus more on learning these different parts of the cell later. But for now, those are just some differences between plants and animals. So then you need to identify each of these 4 things in every cell. So we've got DNA is going to be a squiggle. It's going to be in the nucleus of these other 2. Okay. The cytoplasm is this empty space here, like the liquidy part. The cytoplasm. Ribosomes are these little dots. I know that's kind of hard to see. These little dots right here. Dots. And then they're not shown very clearly. You could go with these guys over here and these over here. Cytoplasm is just the liquidy stuff, so it's the space kind of in between all the other organelles. And the cell membrane is the layer around the outside. So for this animal cell, it's all this layer. This animal cell has some cilia attached to it. They don't all, but this one does. So on the plant cell, we colored the cell wall green there. The cell membrane is the layer directly under that. So you've got a cell membrane and then a cell wall right outside of it in a plant cell. And in some protists and other things too. But not in animal cells. Animal cells do not have a cell wall. So the 4 things that all cells have, you need to be able to name these out loud and say what they are. All cells have DNA, cell membrane, cytoplasm, and ribosomes. And as long as you can name them, it doesn't matter what order they're in. And that's just to help you understand and remember that all cells have some things in common. Just does not matter what type of cell they are. These are kind of part of that characteristics of life.